Pruning is one of the most important practices in the vineyard to create vine balance, the balance between vegetation and fruit production to achieve the grape yield, maturity, and quality desired. With too little vegetation, vines may not have the capacity to ripen the fruit, and with too much vegetation, the fruit can be shaded. The vine focuses on vegetative growth rather than fruit ripening, and again, the fruit can be perceived as underripe or dilute and green. Pruning also localizes the fruit into an area that will be easy to manipulate for sun exposure, disease control, and harvest. During winter, a vine has dormant buds located at the base of where every leaf had grown the prior season. These buds are potential growing points for the following season. If we do not prune, all of these buds will start to grow in the spring, and since there are so many of them, they will compete with one another and not grow vigorously. As a result, there will be lots of weak shoots and fruit everywhere. It will be hard to ripen the fruit, create uniform sun exposure, and control diseases. Conversely, if we prune too hard and leave too few buds, these positions will grow so vigorously that they will continue to grow and grow, often forgetting to focus on ripening the fruit. The goal of pruning is to leave the correct number of buds with proper placement to produce the right balance between shoot growth and fruit production. The most fruitful buds are located on one-year-old wood. Older wood tends not to be as productive. There are two main styles of pruning in Napa, both of which involve the selection and placement of buds of one-year-old wood to serve as growing points for the following season. One style is called spur pruning, where short spurs of one-year-old wood are left, usually spaced out along a cordon, a permanent horizontal extension of the trunk along a fruiting wire. The other is cane pruning, where a longer cane of one-year-old wood is trained annually from the head of the vine onto the fruiting wire. After many years of experimentation and knowledge accumulation in the industry, we now have pruning industry standards. Provided that the site is planted with the appropriate variety, rootstock, spacing, and trellis, there are several rules of thumb in regard to cordon-trained spur-pruned vines. One is that the spur positions should be located about 5 to 6 inches apart from one another. It is important not to crowd positions in order to maintain shoots and clusters with good spacing. Another industry standard is to leave 2 buds per spur position. If the vines are weak and the prior year's shoots are thinner than a pencil, it is preferable to leave only 1 bud to focus the vegetative production into producing a stronger shoot. If the vines are too vigorous and the prior year's shoots are significantly thicker than a pencil, you may want to consider leaving 3 buds. However, 3 buds can crowd the fruit, and it is preferable to devigorate the vines using other means, such as reduced irrigation, less fertilization, permanent cover crops, and other techniques. Therefore, in most cases, at each position, we would have left a 2-bud spur the prior year that produced and matured 2 shoots. It is advisable to cut and remove the top shoot completely in order to keep the spur position as low as possible. Then, the lower shoot is cut down to a 2-bud spur. Occasionally, it is preferable to retain the top shoot as the 2-bud spur if the angle is preferred to reduce crowding of spur positions, or if the lower shoot is not vigorous enough. It is preferable to cut the spur at an angle away from the nearest bud in order to prevent the sap that bleeds out of the pruning wound from dripping on the bud, making it susceptible to rot. One main consideration during pruning is that pruning wounds are susceptible to fungal pathogens. To avoid infection, it is best to prune as late in the season as possible. If that is not feasible, you can pre-prune to a 4 to 6 bud spur and return later for a final pruning pass, removing any infection that may have occurred. A wound protectant or fungicide applied according to all applicable laws and regulations may be utilized.